Alright, I'd like to introduce you to the newest shirt in Screw Attack apparel.
I thought we weren't supposed to make any new designs until we sold out of the old stuff.
Yeah, don't you worry about that. Anyway, let me present to you the brand new Top 10 shirt.
Isn't that just the 10-year anniversary?
New Top 10 t-shirt. Hey, click the link in the description and buy the brand new, not in any way old Top 10 shirt. If you don't, I'ma get eaten.
It seems like no one character can truly have it all. For every superpower that exists, there's some kind of weird weakness there as well to keep everything in check. And with so many weird weaknesses out there, well, we just figured we'd share them with you. Hey, I'm Nervous Nick for Screw Attack's Top 10 Stupidest Weaknesses.
Number 10.
The master of magic in the world of Thundercats is an undead sorcerer for the ancient spirits of evil. But the demon priest Mumra also has a terrible secret. He can't stand the sight of himself. Yeah, while this weakness would be retconned later in the series with sunglasses, Mumra's ability to exist outside the Black Pyramid is immediately nullified by his own reflection. Not only does he run home terrified at what he's just witnessed, but Mumra also reverts back to his emaciated mummy form and just slinks into his sarcophagus. Slowly. In total silence. It's very awkward.
Wherever evil exists,
Yeah, unless you're in the public bathroom, the barber shop, the gym, you know, a lot of places.
Number 9.
By now I think a ton of people know the story of Daredevil thanks to a more than successful Netflix show, but for the uninitiated, Matt Murdock lost his sight when he got splashed with some radioactive chemicals. What he gained was the rest of his senses being heightened to a superhuman degree. This lets him smell bad guys coming 2 stories above him or listen to heartbeats to detect lies. And also makes loud noises his greatest weakness. Okay, well, maybe second greatest weakness, since a bullet will definitely kill him sooner than sound will, but if I'm a bad guy in Hell's Kitchen, I'm going to be packing some air horns. Or worst case scenario, I'll just scream bloody murder at the top of my lungs anytime he gets close. Actually, here's a real question. How does he manage in the city that never sleeps? If it really is a weakness that were so easily exploited, maybe like move out of Hell's Kitchen and get a nice apartment in Jersey? It's not like that place couldn't use a little saving of its own.
Number 8.
So, we almost put the Zentradi aliens from Macross here because the way we remembered them, they died from this lady singing pop music to them in space. Sadly, that turned out to be a bit of a stretch, but we're determined to give you a music-related weakness anyway. Now, I'm possibly gonna trigger some uncomfortable memories from your past here, but in the Super Mario Bros. Live-action movie, Luigi uses the rhythm of generic elevator music to get a dozen or so Goombas to dance, thus creating the distraction he and Mario needed to escape. Or something. I don't know, they seemed relatively undetected to me, but anyway, this comes up again in the film's climax. When Toad plays the same song, causing thousands of other Goombas who, like Toad, were not present when Luigi taught them to rhythmically lean side to side, they all start waltzing as if some kind of music weakness virus had spread throughout their whole population, thus rendering Dennis Hopper's entire army completely useless. Which is just to say more useless than they already were.
Number 7.
If I were deathly allergic to peanuts, would you deploy me to go take down the Planters Peanuts mascot if you were on a, rampage through the city? No? Huh. Then why do the Planeteers call upon Captain Planet to clean up pollution when pollution is his exact specific weakness? And when I say weakness, I mean it cripples and incapacitates the green mulleted warrior. This happens in literally every single episode, and it's a cycle that should kill Captain Planet every time, but doesn't, for the sake of teaching kids not to be crappy human beings or something.
The power is yours!
And this stupid weakness is mine!
Number 6.
What if I told you that you could eat this stuff called devil fruit to give yourself incredible powers? Well, great, you would say. Now what if I told you that it also means that water itself becomes your greatest enemy? And since this devil fruit comes from a show all about pirates who sail across friggin' oceans, yeah, I'm thinking maybe you shouldn't eat that devil fruit. Because if you do and you fall overboard, you literally cannot swim anymore and you will drown and die. Now, there is this weird loophole where if you eat the fruit while surrounded by water, you come out just fine for some reason, but unlucky for Luffy, he completely loses the strength to stand when he's like knee-deep in water. I mean, cripes, man. Hopefully you can at least drink the water without shriveling up your whole digestive tract.
Number 5.
When it comes to selective hearing, Namekians from Dragon Ball might just be the best. In the Lord Slug movie, Piccolo enlightens the audience with the tidbit that Namekians like himself have extremely sensitive hearing to high-frequency sound. So much so that Gohan whistling entirely incapacitated a giant Lord Slug that beat Goku down to a bloody pulp minutes earlier. After this movie, it is no longer referenced, mentioned, or even remotely hinted at, which is good, because with all the screaming that happens in this show, not the least of which comes from Gohan when he was being trained by Piccolo, our green hero seems to have handled it pretty well. So I guess it really is just selective hearing. Or it's bad writing.
Number 4.
The gods have ancient stories of hubris, strange transformations, and myths that have stranger punishments and rules. This is no different in the DC universe when they created their own Greek legend, Shazam. With all the power of the gods at his very fingertips, his Greek punishment happens to be his own name. On the one hand, when he's his normal 10-year-old Billy Batson self, saying Shazam grants him great powers. But once he's trying to use those powers to, like, be a good guy or whatever, he can't say it again or else he'll go back to being a little kid. His own name! Like, it's awkward enough to be a 10-year-old in a grown man's body, but not even being able to say your own name must make introductions just a little extra awkward. But hey, it's either that or killing everyone, so,
Number 3.
When it comes to superhero weaknesses, anyone could recognize the green rock that is the bane of Superman's existence. Kryptonite has now become a synonym for weakness in real life from how recognizable it is. However, that does not stop it from being one of the worst weaknesses ever. You're gonna tell me that a radiated rock can bring down a guy that can lift infinity and breathe in space? Not to mention, it's like the most literal take on homesickness ever. Superman can be poisoned by his own planet, changing and destroying his very own cells. Not only that, but before the writers had any sort of idea what they were doing, there were different colors of kryptonite that did different things. Red made him angry, gold took his powers away, and pink... pink made him gay. God only knows why that happens, but one thing we do know is that kryptonite has been around for so long that the writers will never agree on what it does or does not do. Now, kryptonite may be iconic, but that does not excuse it from being stupid.
Number 2.
Willpower. It's what pushes many people through their daily lives and allows them to keep doing what's right in the face of wrong. For Green Lantern, however, it's his main source of power and allows him to make constructs as strong as his will. Unless he's fighting the color yellow. Yeah, I get it. The power of the lanterns has to be kept in check somehow, but I can avoid the Green Lantern's might by painting myself yellow, offering him some lemonade, and sending my 12-year-old understudy to beat him down. That is one pathetic weakness, my friend. And besides, who or what decides where the dividing line between green and yellow is? Like, these two things are directly next to each other on the color wheel. It's stupid.
It's number 1.
When you think of strong women in media, Wonder Woman, the titan of feminine power and independence, is at the top for many. With her superhuman strength, speed, agility, and fighting prowess, she seems practically invincible. It's a good thing she's known for that, and not her horrible weakness of losing her strength if she is tied up by a man. If you're thinking that's a suspiciously specific weakness that probably comes from a not-so-innocent place, that's because it is a suspiciously specific weakness that comes from a not-so-innocent place. I am not making this up. Wonder Woman's artist and creator, William Marston, was actually using these depictions to train young readers' minds to being more open to sexual exploration. You can look that up. Anyway, the canon explanation for this comes from Aphrodite's law, which is never explicitly explained, but if she is ever chained up by a man, she will lose her strength and powers. Kinda makes her most famous weapon a little bit more of a hazard, if you ask me. Well, thankfully the writers seem to have abandoned this in recent years, but don't think we've forgotten this one, DC. The internet never forgets. And for our secret number 11, it's gonna go to the Z Putties from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. We gave these guys a shout out in a recent top 10, but it's worth bringing up again that even though they're supposed to be stronger than the season 1 putties, that Z on their chest is actually their greatest weakness. If anything touches it, whether it be a punch or even a seatbelt or a hug, will cause them to immediately explode and die.